Okay. Okay, internet's live.
And I want to thank you for actually joining us and tuning into the Simply Ora Show. Today I'm seated with two phenomenal minds, two beautiful women, and we're going to be discussing what does it mean to be African. Good morning, ladies. How are you doing? I'm sitting with Zanele Kwanika, who is a mother of two, a traditional healer, and also a financial and accounting professional. By her side is Bulelwa, Princess. Your surname, I forgot it, a bit of a Mbonambi. I apologize about that. It really just slipped my mind there for a second. Bulelwa is a lifestyle entrepreneur. She's also a mother of two boys, women raising men. Thank you so much, ladies, for joining us. We're just going to jump right into it because, as mentioned, we are talking about identity today, particularly the African identity. Before we can even go into the African part of it, what role does identity play in an individual and in a society?
Identity is very important because it speaks to who you are, where you are going, how you are going to be. If you not know about yourself, then how are you going to present yourself to the world? So identity is highly important for you to be able to establish yourself as an entity and who you are.
So now you said it as an individual, as a society.
As a society, I had a problem with the word society because society means that you be and act as what society says you should. So society is very constricting because there's difficulty when I start changing and I say, okay, my identity has developed and evolved, then society is going to say, no, that's not the box you belong in. So society gives us boxes. You are a female, you're a mother, you are a man, you're a father, you do this, you do that, you need to be a mechanic, you need to be either a nurse, a teacher, or a chef, you understand. So society gives us boxes that we need to build in. Right? So that's my struggle with society. So I start as an individual. When I go outside into society, funny enough, because of your identity, you will identify with people who are as liberal or as conservative as you are, and that will build more of your tribe and your family instead of a society.
Okay, because I was about to go to that. Because right now what we are talking about is the African identity, which now gives you that collective, that group, and with you now having that sense of apprehension in the society part, what would you replace society with? Because I don't know, I believe that it's important for us to have that community identity. So what would you replace society with? I am going to go to Zanele. You know, I just wanted to understand from your part.
Society. I would replace the word society with actually people, acquaintances, people, spaces that you choose to put yourself in. I don't subscribe or believe in society. I don't like it's something I've never been as an individual, Bulelwa Princess Mbonambi. I've struggled to fit in from a young age and from
literally 6 years old to 12-year-old, I was the quiet one because everything I thought, everything I felt, everything I acted as didn't fit in those spaces that I was, until I could start reading. And I started reading and exploring and figured out I'm not supposed to fit into that. Everything around me needs to accommodate me and what I do and how I feel. So I need to move in the spaces that see me, accept me, and love me the way I am. So I have a struggle with replacing or putting or subscribing to anything that is society based.
Okay.
Because it's classism. Society basically means classism. Because you are this, you are here. Because you are that, you are here. Because you are that, you are here. So this is my stance.
So much from what you've just said, but let's just move over to Zanele. What role does identity play in the individual and in society?
For me, I would take it back to the Bantustan, to the Nguni, to the Basotho, to where we originated from. That's who we are. That's our identity, which has been basically removed in our daily lives. It has been removed in who we are. It's been removed, and I think that we need to find it. We need to look for it, and we can find it in some texts which even go way back to the Egyptian scrolls, where you find there were where you find there were mummies which were drawn up in those hieroglyphics with people which had hippopotamus heads, which had ingwenya, like a crocodile's head, and those people were abangwenya, bakwena, and that takes you back to the totem of who those people were. And being nomadic people as Africans, we need to go back and trace those steps. As I'm saying that even in the Egyptians, even in the Mapungubye, you find there were drawings, they left signs, they left ways in which we can trace back. But the problem with our society now is that we had not gotten there first. There were certain people who got there and were able to change those things. They saw who we were, and our language will also be able to take us back to our identity, because now we are enclosed into borders and we hardly travel. People who travel will tell you that we are one, especially if you can go to the nearest countries like the Shona, the Ndebele, the Botswana, you will find that there's similarities in the Bantustan, in the Nguni nation, in the Basotho. But now that is identity for me. You are able to identify with yourself, with who you are. But is it being instilled? It's not. That is the problem. We have to find out now when they say, who are you? You have to be able to identify with that. But we are not. We are identifying with Christianity in our names, in who we are named, and that never used to be the case. Even when you look at the case of birth certificates, the case of how we bury our loved ones, we have to identify with them using names. But is that who we are? No, those things were inflicted on us. Your John, your English names that we are using, your names which were used by the colonizers so that they can easily identify with us.
Martha, Mary.
But we lost ourselves in that transition. And for me, identifying is going back to that, into who we were back then and who we are now, and we need to find the balance.
Okay. From your response, I hear that you are speaking about finding, meaning that we currently do not have. What is the impact of not having that identity? What is the impact? What is the result of it, of the African walking around and not knowing who they are?
It's not knowing where you're going, because most of us, we are stagnant. We cannot even pass on anything to our children, to our there's no looking forward to a kraal that is full of stock, a kraal that is full of sheep, a man who, like in Nigeria, there's a place where they color, they use indigo colors and stuff like that. It's from generation to generation, where it started in the 1800s. It's textile industry. When you go there, you find that they took this from their forefathers, but because of
everything was taken away from us in a form of having to reproduce, having to understand that as the Bakwena, as the Bataung, this is what we pride ourselves in, this is what we trade in. We are carpenters, we do carpentry, the others are farmers, they supply this and that, because that is what it boils down to bartering systems, where there were people who excelled in certain fields, and you would find people who lived in the Mozambican islands where they were fishermen, you know, and now because of our nomadic ways, people have moved away from that, they've come into one, but they did not take that with them to say, my child, this is who we are, this is where we come from. We are Bakwena because of we were near the rivers. We used to pray to the god of the crocodiles. They used to protect us. You know, and but now, as you are mentioning it, that how do we find it? I think that because as Africans, we were never really people who were writing our history. It is knowledge which was passed from generation.
It was more oral,
generation.
gathering around the fire, in Zomi, you know.
But that also happened to be distorted by slavery, by being removed from our parents at a young age, where they have to go to work and we are left behind and we are not taking anything from them. So identity being stolen from us, I would use the word stolen in that form, where when we started moving around and there was enslavement and there was all those things and we were changed, our names were changed, and you now find that we have this thing called Goma. They call it in Goma, where our children were being taken there to remind themselves, to remind them who you are. Then you give them an ancestral name. They tell you that this is who you are. Then you can say the name so that you can familiarize yourselves with everyone. When you get there, then everyone will say, oh, uzita namu baba mkhulu wami savela kuphi. Then you can relate to that, and you find yourself to say, no, Tina, we were farmers. We used to pride ourselves in the type of cattle we used to bring. The other one would come up, no, Tina Reba Kwena. The other one would come up, we used to pride ourselves in carpentry. So identity goes beyond just looking at a person and their nose and their ears and their eyes, how they look, but it goes to an essence whereby it tells you what you can even do as a person, what you're capable of. That is why you find people frustrated in workplaces, because now they cannot get to that in-depth personality that comes with their DNA, with their identity of who they are, and everyone now wants to do the same thing. And we're feeding off a system that is not allowing us to how can I put it, to show our truest potential in whatever that we're doing, and that is surrounded by nature and reproducing as well. But we're only reproducing what services in a form of monetary value, but not life.
Not life. You know, when you take a step back and look at where we currently are right now, there are so many ways that the African identity has been distorted, particularly when you look at it, like for instance, I've got a specific issue with the term black. Just that's why I gave the definition of black. Yet we identify ourselves as black people. When you think about looking back into history, apparently at the Vatican, there's miles of information that was taken from Africa. So much has been taken to uplift the Western world, your Einsteins, your Mozarts, and so forth. According to you ladies, what other ways, or what ways were taken to distort the African image?
A lot happened. A lot was done, but I just want to divert just slightly. As you were speaking, a lot was revealed to me. The word identity to me reveals identity. You know, how I identify to everything else. Yes, I agree. A lot has happened. There was apartheid, there was slavery, Africa was colonized, right? And it was horrible. It is bad. But in all of that, as a young individual right now in 2020, I actually
2021?
2021. Thank you, Ora. What I found power in it, because in everything that was done to distort our African identity, to make us feel small, to make us feel less than. Right now, small example, you've got 3 powerful ladies sitting in the middle of Johannesburg CBD and are articulating such in-depth conversation, right? So with everything that was tried to break us down, we somehow survived. For you and me to be here, we've got ancestors and ancestors and ancestors that had to go through the slavery, the apartheid, the taking away of everything that they were, and they survived that. They went through that, and they gave us Itagazelo, they gave us Isibongo. You understand? Itagazelo is clan calling, Isibongo is surname, you know, something that I identify as, for me to know where I come from.
I'm sorry, Princess, just to go in there as well. One of the things that I've noticed about Africans, which is another reason why this conversation is necessary, because when you look at the vast amount of voices that are coming from the African community, it's all about the white man took from us. It's like we have identified so much with having been oppressed, that somehow we have oppressed our own beautiful history
ourselves,
that comes before that.
So we're starting on a negative. So on a mental basis, which was part of the system, actually, to break a person down, you need to break them in the mind. This is something we've inherited from our parents and our great-great-parents and all of that, because you have to be small to fit into certain societies. You have to make yourself fit into that box. So for some reason, we start from a negative, you know. I can't do that because at home it is like this. I can't go there because I am like this. Instead of starting with what do I want to do, where do I want to do, and then enter that room with that intention. That way you are starting from a positive space. You understand? And wherever you go is going to be up, it's not going to be down. So that's why I have a problem with always saying we were colonized. Yes, it happened. I agree.
We cannot deny it.
But what am I doing? What am I doing to move me, to move my family, to move my brothers, to move my sisters from where we need to go? You understand? I think that's where the conversation needs to start, from a positive point of view.
Zanele, on that one, what ways has they been? Because even when you look in the media, you know, first of all, when you look into the media, let's take your overseas programmings. You hear about a starving child in Africa. We give the West we give the West people a reason to feel good about themselves, because like we were digging wells.
You need $1.
Yes, we were digging wells in Africa, you know, the hungry children of Africa. So much effort is given in the mass of way of looking at it. The third world is one of the ways that they also use to describe Africa. So much effort has been taken to define the Africa as less. You understand? So maybe what I'm asking is, what are the intentional efforts that have been taken to suppress the African? Maybe I've just missed some of these examples as well.
For me, I know this might touch a lot of viewers or listeners in a maybe perhaps negative way, but the mind is a very powerful tool, and the colonizers realized this, and they had to come up with a tool to mend it, to get it to think in a certain manner. And when this was done, it was done in a form of missionaries, it was done in the form of a Bible, it was done in the form of we are going to beat you up until you get into this form, into this way of thinking, and you need to pass it on into your children.
And you know what, I'm sorry to stop you again there, Zanele, but you know, because the one question that I was about to ask is that there's so much of the villain, which is the West, and the victim, which is Africa. Because the one thing that I ask myself is that we are such a vast and large people. How were we able to be defeated? How did we get to a point where how did that happen?
You remember when Christianity was instilled in people, they used to beat them up. They were forced to go to church on every Sunday, up until you prayed to their God, and you had no choice to submit. And you remember they had guns, they had gunpowder, they came with all those powerful ammunition to overtake people who were coming with spears, and you know, we did not have that form of powerful
weaponry
to take them over. So at some point, I guess that is what made us to submit, that is the only logic that I can think of, whereby people were now dying in numbers, and they were now to save their ethnicity. Now that is what happened at that time. And remember, at that point, they needed slaves to work the land because they had found out that there is certain minerals that they do not have. Because remember, Africa, it is what it is today because of the minerals that we have, because of what we can offer the world. Now, if you look at what is happening in Niger, what France is doing in Niger, collecting all that uranium that is keeping their lights on, and you can look at the people who live there, the people who came from Libya, who are now displaced after what happened to Gaddafi, all because of uranium. If you look at that now in 2021, it is happening. It is not in 1981 or wherever, but it's because of the control that they were able to use, and the people then. The Sahara, it never used to be a desert. This was done on purpose. When they were hitting those nuclear bombs, it destroys the land, and they know that they won't be able to survive, their cattle won't be able to survive, then they will need aid. Then they come in as the World Food Education, please give us, whereas they are the same people who inflicted that on us. So I'm going back to the issue of Christianity as well, to say that I am in the southern part of Africa. There's the Methodist Church, there's the Lutheran Church, there's the Pentecostal, there's Anglican, there's everything. When you fill in a form at a bank, when you fill in a form at Home Affairs, I'm talking about systems that we're living under in 2021. All the religions are there, Islam, Christianity, but there is no Africanism. There is nothing that identifies with myself as an African. Even when you fill in a form at work, they will ask about white or black. There is no African, and we are not being recognized as a being, as someone that is there and alive and making contribution to this life that we are living. So I'm also going back now to the issue of Christianity, because of every Sunday, every Saturday, every Thursday, oh Mama Bumtandazo, our mothers are there praying to Jesus, praying to God, and saying, please save us. The same people who are doing this every Sunday without fail are the same people who are experiencing the ill treatment, the wages which are short paid, the system that is oppressing us in 2021. So that is what is being used to distort Africanism. We are not being recognized as a humanity that is there and that is doing something as life actively.
I mean, there was that thing. I'm not sure, and you know what? I'm also trading very lightly here. But there was a time where Africans had to prove that they were people.
Exactly. Yes, most certainly.
Because from the West, we were not considered a people.
Never.
We had to prove ourselves that we were a people.
Genocides. Sorry.
Yes, Bulelo, you wanted to speak. Yes.
A common and recurring theme here is what I'm hearing. And what we are currently discussing, we are saying they want us and they did this, right? And when I'm thinking about it, what should be happening is, what are we doing to change it? Yes, it's currently happening. I think the biggest weapon over and above Christianity is how they made us see ourselves, because even with this current situation, they still have the power. There's a they, right? They have the power, so they have a power because they are unified, right? In Western cultures, in every other culture, they are unified. They work in a conglomerate. It is very difficult for us African people, even today, to say, let's work together and change the system. If you look at all the systems of oppression or government or anything that was changed, it was changed by unified people for it to be there. Whatever happened to Gaddafi, if Africa was unified, if he had the support of Africa was unified, that wouldn't have happened. So as Africa, yes, they came, they looted. Africa is a third world country right now because it has been looted of all its resources and all its glory, basically, and we are where we are here. We are still trying to function and live in a very modern lifestyle with the little that we have. But what I think we should do is actually get together and unite again, because again, this African narrative. Yes, I am Africa. Yes, I am African. I identify as African, right? My ancestors come from this country. But for the country or the continent to survive, everyone within it needs to actually work together to a better place. So won't it be a level of segregation if we say I'm African, identify as African, westernizers came and looted our country, now we want to fix it. Now the solution has to come. What would be the solution if we go with this narrative that we are talking about? The solution would be like, okay, pink, yellow, purple out, we want black left over. Now it's literally what they did to us on a reverse, and when we do that, with that we don't actually go where we want to go as a country, because I think the whole point of the conversation and the discussion is to find thyself, identify thyself, bring the community together. I found the word to replace society's community. Actually, bring the community together and uplift the world that we are currently in. You understand?
I understand. And you know what? We're going to get back to the whole solution part of it as we continue with the program. But one of the things which is of curiosity to me, with so much wealth and in depth in the African, why did the West take so much effort to make the African feel less than a man? Why did they? Because let's be honest. If you have let's say you are living in your house and you've got like tons of gold, of course you're going to protect the gold because you know it as valuable. So then why did the West take so much effort to ensure that we feel less human?
So that they can loot freely.
They took a lot of effort. We were very powerful. Look at Mansa Musa and all he's done. Look at Comet. You spoke about Egyptian cultures. They saw what we had, right? And they saw it as amazing. When they came here, if we go back into the Western histories, actually, they just took 3 ships and they took scouts, like cross the continent, go there, see what's there. The scouts went there, they were welcomed. You understand? We are Africans, we are Ubuntu. If you come into my house, I will take the little that I have and be like, here's a bed, here's this, give hospitality. Hospitality is who we are. So they saw like, they came back and like, hey, we went to that place is beautiful. They've got food, they've got spices, there's gold, beautiful, everything is beautiful, and they are so kind. You understand? They are so kind. So our kind and hospitable nature was taken advantage of. You understand? We had our own languages, we had books, there was history of where Africa came from, how Africa was. There was universities.
Timbuktu.
You understand? There was universities before, and that we had all of that, but they came in, they had to be very smart. They took advantage of our kindness and our hospitality, and this is literally how they came in, and they say, oh, can I have this? Oh yes, you can have this. I have a lot of it. We've got gold everywhere, take it. You understand? And they thought, okay, I can take this and do this and it'll create wealth. And then that's where they came in the masses and took it, and they took it with their hospitality because they were smiling. You understand? And that smile changed. By the time you realize what was happening, it was too late.
Here you are, it was too late. A slave, and you are working for something else. You want to add on to that, or
Yeah, for me, it is more of they had to convince us that they are not the enemy. Remember, if in your mind this person is a savior, you have to pray to this person. It's their God, and the Bible tells you that there needs to be a slave and a master, and you must respect your slave. Your Bible tells you that you must not steal, you must not murder, you must not. But they came here. They stole, and at that time, it's not that Africans couldn't ponder on this and try to make it resonate, to say, but you guys, you are doing this to us, but you want us to pray to your God who's telling you not to do this. Why then are you understand? So at that time, it was inflicted with violence so that they could instill this fear and then make them believe that they are gods, and then there's this hell. If you rebook, you will die. Now they are moving them away from their culture, from their beliefs, because in Africanism there's no such thing as there's no such thing as hell, where a person goes and dies and you burn in a flaming fire that will you'll be screaming. No, we've got ancestors, we've got Okoko Nomkhulu that come to our dreams at that realm where we can interact with them. So you ask yourself, why then did they believe these people? Why did they give in to them? So this was done at a mental stage where they were oppressed, they were not given food, they were not given water for them to get to that state, and they understood that for them to win this battle, they had to deal with the mental mind. So when it came to that point, I'm going to back again. If you don't believe that a person is your enemy, you are not going to fight them. Africans do not have enemies. If you can go to China, they know who they're building the nuclear power against. They know that they've got the US against them. If you go to Niger now, you ask them, who are your enemies? They will tell you that France is stealing our resources. They know who the Al-Qaeda. They are fighting them. They are using ammunition because they understand, and they tell them to their faces that we will get back to you. That is why there's terrorism. They call it terrorism. But when they go and up there to steal their oil, you find US military investing so much money in their military to go to Iraq, to guard Iraq. What the fudge? What for? What do you want there? You understand?
You're touching a very sensitive topic there when you're speaking about the terrorism.
Yes.
Because of as much propaganda has been put out there to the inferiority of the African, of a person who wears the shade, as much as so much effort has been taken also against terrorism, because when you now start speaking about terrorism, I myself, even though I'm Al-Qaeda, 9/11, you know what I'm trying to tell you?
That was them fighting back. You know, that was them fighting back, saying, stay off our land. You are not giving us anything back for this. We are a people of battering. If I've got this is my land, you found me here. You cannot come here and just want to fight me for my milk. If I've got wheat, you've got milk.
Exchange.
We sit down, we exchange.
Let's make bread. Let's put it together, we make bread. Comes
Let's be
together as
merry.
community.
You understand? But they don't want to do that. They want to come in and take everything and oppress us and keep us in a state of mind of fear.
Now that we are on that, because most of what we've discussed, right? We've discussed from the time of colonialism, when the West ended up on our shores, and the efforts that they took in order to ensure that they condition us mentally. But here we are in 2021. Yes, we do have 3 women sitting here having a conversation about such things, but where is the majority of the African? How is the African still kept there? Because one of the conversations that we were having earlier on is the fact that they don't want us to wake up. They need us to still be asleep. How are they doing that to ensure that we are still asleep, and why are they doing that? Television. You pointing at the television.
Media, how they communicate with you is media. And what I was going to say, but you are right, I agree with that one, is the woman, even back in the day, for you to break the black family, you need to break the woman. Without the woman, the black family or the black community does not grow. First thing you need to do, and then how media would fit into that. If you look at television right now, what describes beauty or attraction or success is something that is not completely African. It is something, it's very fancy cars and very silky long hair and very skinny kind of, that's the picture we were shown.
Sorry to stop you there for a second. You said something. You're saying that what is in the media today is not really African. What is African?
African, okay, number one, I'm going to start here right now.
Yeah.
Miss South Africa, right? They are auditioning for Miss South Africa right now.
Yes.
If I can go, I'm a size 38, right? I am well endowed at the back. I'm well endowed at the back, right? I'm thick. I've got
You are
flesh.
there. You
I've
are
got
present.
curves, right? I am present. I'm not as dark as I'd like to be, but I'm melanated. Right?
What do you mean you're not as dark as you want? You want to be darker.
Like, if you look at my mother, she's like very dark. She's got a very dark skin tone, and I'm obsessed with like dark skin tone, but I can't force it on me. This is the skin tone that I have. But if I was going to go and audition for that, number one, there's a lot of flaws. I don't think I'd go past the first round, right? Because of that, I don't fit in to the criteria. You have to have a pose. You have to be a certain weight. You have to fit
And yet
into
it is
a certain
Miss
size.
South Africa.
Miss South Africa.
For South
right.
Africa, Africans, yes.
Exactly. So African,
Yeah.
if you look at the proper African look. Now, I'm not even going to go to our mothers and our grandmothers. South Africa first. There's a standard size. South African women have around behind. That's what I'm going to call it. We've got breastises. We've got curves. You understand? We are soft. You know, our line is soft. But right now, go to all the gyms. Go to all the companies that sell diets. Anything. We are the number one consumer because now in our minds we want to fit into that narrative of beauty You understand? We want to go burn our hair. We want to flat iron our hair. We want our hair.
And
we buy hair
relaxer is
this
hot.
long.
Relaxer is hot. Let us be honest.
I love
it burns.
Relaxer is better. We go spend 6.5 on someone else's hair so that it can cover my behind. You understand? That's
Someone
6
else's hair.
it is someone else's hair. So
It's
I believe
true.
that my hair is not good enough. You've got long hair. Look at how long your hair is. We've got long hair. Our hair grows. We just need to take care of it with the right ingredients to make it grow. But no, it's taking too long. I'm not going to invest in that. Instead, I'll invest in someone else's hair and put it in my hair and fit into that narrative of what beauty is. You understand? So now my mind has been broken. So now you get me as a consumer. You show the TV princess. For you to look successful, you need to look a certain way, you need to buy a certain thing, you need to eat a certain way, you need to behave in a certain way. Amadumbe, have you seen any advert of Amadumbe?
Never.
What is amadumbe?
Amadumbe is an African potato most commonly found in Natal.
Okay.
Do you see an ad for okra?
Yeah.
Do you
yeah.
see
Never.
an
Yeah.
ad
Yeah.
for
Never.
chimolia and all of that? You don't see that. Instead, you'll see, let's have sushi.
Yes.
That kind of cuisine,
You're right.
German cuisine, European cuisine, Italian cuisine.
Yeah.
And this is a lot of starchy food. That's actually not good for our diet. It's not good for our body because it actually bloats us up. Like, I'm an avid follower of Dr. Sebi and all his prophesizing upon what one should eat, because what he says is, as a person, you need to eat what grows within your region. You understand? What grows freely around you, and eat it in its purest form, and that was vegetation. Right, over and above vegetation, there's livestock that will also slaughter. But the way we eat it, chotlo, ting. Do you see any ads on that?
No.
You understand?
No.
But
You'd rather see of pasta and.
so
and,
I
and
need to
whatnot,
shop.
yeah.
I need to shop in a certain supermarket that has making us buy shopping bags for 6 rands every time we go there. To be affluent, I'm guilty of it. I've got 6 of them already. in my I need to shop in that space, they're eating that. No speak our languages. Our children, when they grow to grandmother's house, like, mommy, when are you getting me? Granny's making me play dirt. You understand? There's always that. And now the identity, like the African identity, what we are actually speaking about, the Africanism, our language, the way we look, the way we dress, the way we eat, the way we behave is being changed into what we consume. Because now all we are doing, we are consumers. You understand? If we switch off the TV, then we'll have a struggle. It's okay, what do I do now? What's cool now? What's trending now? Where do I go? How do I make it work? And if you don't have an identity, then it becomes a struggle. Then you start looking at the Joneses. What are they doing? And that's what I need to do. So that's how they're taking us. Break the African woman. You get the African woman, you get everything. Without a man, like, our mothers have raised 18, our grandmothers, like 10 children, household, no man, but all the children will grow up successful. So we can survive without the man. We don't want to survive without a man, but the man knew that he would go hunting and leave the home with the mother, and he will find it standing, even flourishing on what she
fertile
could
lands
do.
and stuff like that, because of what
Flourishing.
the woman,
So what you want to break the African family, you want to break the African identity, start with the woman. When we start with the woman, then it changes.
The days they would beat us, they would beat us, ensure that they torture us in order to condition our mind. But today we are supposedly a free people. Why do they not want us to wake up?
Indoctrination is a very powerful thing that has been done on the masses. And it took centuries for these people to get it right. So we also supposed to already be in this train of fixing this. But our leaders are so caught up in corruption. Our leaders are so caught up in also fixing things for themselves, for their families, for their...
Why do you think that is, though? Why are our leaders not really working in order to flourish the African? Why is it?
For me, it will always be... I'll always politicize everything. And I'll always go back to the time when we attained freedom, I'll put it in inverted commas, because I don't believe that the deal that we got at the CODESA negotiations. I don't believe that the deal that we got from the sunset clause, when they sat there and agreed how to take South Africa forward, I don't believe that was best for South Africans in particular. So I'm referring to our leaders at that time, when people never knew exactly what was being discussed. The South African population handed over the matters to the ANC at that time as the majority who were holding, and they believed that they were going to sign up for what was best for them, what was best of best interest, because people will always say that the worst made us. They built ESCOM, they built SAA.
Yeah, Helen Ziller said that. Helen Ziller spoke about the fact that we must be happy that the West ended up here because they gave us infrastructure.
It was the African men. There's a documentary about the last tomb of. There's a documentary I watched. All those men who were working in spades, who were building the foundations, it was the black African men. All those men who were building the railways, it was the African men. All those men who built ESCOM, ISCO at that time, the steel workers. The trains were made so that it can traffic the steel and the gold. It was never meant for people to use to go to where you can go now using a train. It's the same with electricity consumption. It was never, the substation were never created so that we as Africans can enjoy bathing in a geyser or anything like that. That is why we had to take it from a point whereby the engineers, as I'm saying, it was African made who were there working, and just because of segregation, it never allowed them to be supervisors or anything like that. A supervisor would be there as a white male and he would get stuck, and an African man would come in and say, let's do it like this. But he was never given that position. He was never acknowledged as a person who came with the solution to the problem that they were experiencing at that time. So alchemy as well comes in, because we are, but that's a different so I'll just leave it at that. But for now, I just want to say that the politicians also let us down in a big way, because if they had taken this from that point, it's been 27 years now, 1994, and implemented Africanism, opened up schools for for an African child who would be able to flourish, who would be able to continue where we were ambushed from, because as I'm saying, this took them centuries. If we were to be able to go back to Upambata, the rebellion in 1912, who said, I'm not going to pay tax for my land because I pay rates and taxes to the municipality for a building, for a home that I own. What are those taxes for? Why are we still paying rates and taxes in this day and age in 2021? If I can go and sit with the councillor now, or with someone who is of high position, who can explain to me why I need to pay rates and taxes that Upambata fought for and died for in 1912, because the whites were inflicting tax on his land. Why do we still have such law degrees? When you study them, they're still teaching you about the Dutch laws. We don't have anything that
it's like the African customary laws are after you've went through Dutch and the English law, only then do you
and it's like they're doing us a favor.
It's like let's
but first I think of it, to answer the main question is why okay, ask your question again.
The question is why.
I was going to put it in my own words.
It was a sense of how now is the African still kept conditioned, because we are supposedly free. And why?
So the biggest thing which also speaks to that is, number one, military strategy. If you want to infiltrate your neighbor's lands, you need to divide. If you have them all in unified conglomerates, they are too powerful. And as African, like, our knowledge, our history, our resources is quite deep. If we actually unified as a unit, we'd be so strong. So they have to keep us divided, even in the politics. Right now, you were right. There was liberation 1994. We are free. We can sit in the same buses. We can shop in the same places.
I'm a black man now.
You know,
you
understand. Yeah. So besides that freedom that was given, there was no other freedom we were given. The only freedom which was still what was happening in apartheid. If you were a house worker inside a house inside a house in Hillbrook by that time, and Houghton, those were the nice times. You were seen better than the one who's working at the mines. You understand? The madam would give you the leftover mayonnaise and cheese and whatnot, and your children would eat better and go to slightly better school and get to visit. You understand? So that was segregation right there. You are black, I'm black, but I'm better.
Still continuous.
I'm better. You understand? It's still the same thing right now. So they were given power. They were fighting in the streets. If you think about the Bantu education and the education they were getting, it wasn't much. But they were ANC because they were liberating the country. They were fighting in the street. This is not fair. We want this. We want that. And they were like, okay, sharp. You're the political party. We'll give you this. Here you go. Now you come from having nothing to having the reins. Think about it. Are you going to think about the masses in the streets?
So basically,
So they were given that, like, okay, we'll give you. Here's it, we'll give it to you. Now they're thinking that, okay, we come from poverty and this poverty might still come back. Let's take care of our families.
So basically, what we are then saying, we are then saying that our leaders, and we are putting this in the most blunt of manner, because of course, yes, you are right. It was a sense of we came from scarcity, and the next thing you know, they say you have
Abundance.
access to excess, if
Yes,
one can
the
put it
keys
that.
to the same.
So in other words, our leaders were not mentally strong.
But they were not taught. I can see mentally strong. There was teaching, because again, all the systems we have, ESCOM, the railway, driving cars, this was brought here to make the Westerner feel comfortable. You know, they took what they had built where they were and they brought it here so that they can adjust. We were developing as Africans, but we were developing in a totally different way.
In another direction.
Yeah, in another
Yeah.
direction. So they brought what they brought here for us to work on. We assisted them, we built what they built. They gave us instruction. We want this to happen. We came with the mind and we built that. That is correct. But the education system of this time, and this is recent, if you say the time of apartheid, that's fairly recent. If you look about the depth of the history of Africa, that's fairly recent. So you are given Bantu education, you are taught the basics of basics, you know, in Afrikaans, even a language that is not even your mother tongue. You understand? And now you have to run a country. Think about it. You went to university, they went law, but most of it, whatever they got, they had to fight
Can we really use that as an excuse?
It's not an excuse.
Because that's one thing, that there's so much responsibility that comes with liberating a people, that our leaders, clearly it had fallen on their shoulders. But for them to have put us in a much more worse
look
position.
look at the cabinet now.
Yeah.
Tell me the age group.
60, 55, 60, 70,
55. I think
Yeah.
the youngest is 50.
50 something.
Yeah, 53. The youngest.
This is now from the ANC point, because now the EFF
They're running the running party, the ruling party.
The ruling party.
The ruling party.
But then they brought in that Stella Abrams woman. Isn't she in the communications or something? Remember
And
those
she
lines?
does. And she did.
No comment.
So what I'm saying is there's this idea that you have to be seen to doing something, and then there's actually doing something. So they want to be seen to be doing something. Right now we're in a pandemic. We're in a lockdown level 4. My industry, for one, is been crippled by the past lockdown, and we are crippled even further. I was depressed on Sunday evening. I was literally depressed, not for my sake, but for the sake of the industry. That yes, takeaways only. I'm like, I wanted to actually send him an operations plan of how a restaurant functions and how much a restaurant needs to make for it to survive a month, given that all restaurants use their savings or any put away thing, used it in the past lockdown to keep the staff employed. Right now we are surviving. Most restaurants are surviving from hand to mouth. So the money that we're making this month is the money that will help us survive in the next month. You put it on takeaway only. Takeaway for restaurants, proper restaurants, besides your KFCs, your Steers, your Debonairs, those are takeaways normally. But for businesses that young people like me run and local restaurants, takeaways are literally 20% of what you make. People come to your space because they want to experience your hospitality. So if you're telling me that we need to survive on takeaways only, right now in 90% of restaurants, most of the 20% closed, the other 20% who are still open, they have one chef in the kitchen. If it's not the chef, it's the owner themselves running that takeaway things. Those businesses are not going to survive. In the same time, the landlord still wants his full letting fee. You understand? So as a president, Mr. President, how does that work? People still need to go to offices. Children stay at home. Make it make sense.
So tying that back to the fact that, because one of the things that we need to establish is we were free.
Yes.
But truth of the matter is we are not really free.
The playing field was never level.
And the fundamental or the crucial players in all of this is our leaders. So now we are discussing that why is it that the African is at a disadvantage, but then we've got African leaders?
It is, for me, okay, I don't look at what I'm being told, I look at what I see is happening, because all your former military veterans, your Ramaphosa, your Posa, your Sopwali, whoever, most of them, they were not like your Ndate Maponya. They were not in business at that time when you would understand where the Maponya mall is coming from. But you would look at now Cyril Ramaphosa, who was always in pictures with white men, always in pictures with Ubabu Tatu Mandela, and even Thabo Mbeki, our former president. Most of them, his wife, they're wealthy, they're in businesses and all of that. I don't understand why they are keeping all this wealth. You know, Ukanyata is such from Burkina Faso, was such a brilliant president and an example where when he passed on, he only had, I think, a bar fridge and an old Mercedes Benz, but the impact of the change that he did is his legacy. He tarred the road, he built schools and all of that. But most of our leaders, they've all got this money, they're billionaires, and you don't understand what exactly it is that they're trying to, the narrative that they're trying to push as leaders. It goes back to Ubabu Zuma, whereby he built this massive home, and then they had to now, EFF had to come in and march and say pay back the money, and it was actually found that he actually used the state money. So for me, what I am seeing is them enriching themselves, because what is it that they are giving back? You'll see all these foundations, and when you dig back, you find that money is actually being channeled through those foundations, whereby their nieces, their cousins, who so and so married to whom, is also benefiting from that. So for me now, when I look at this thing, it means that all along, these people, they call themselves freedom fighters, but they were fighting for their own freedom, for their own enjoyment at that time. And it is up to the citizens, up to us as people, to actually stand up and say we have had enough. We want to enjoy freedom in a sense of financial stability. As I mentioned, I made an example about rates and taxes. Like, God, please explain to me why I have to pay taxes for owning a house in South Africa when I am a South African. You understand? And it goes back to when I say that the leaders are the people who are causing all these problems, whereby you find them implementing grants, social grants, where children as young as 18 years who've got kids are given money. For what? To do what? When they are not going to school to empower themselves. When these kids, it's like they are being encouraged. There are other there are other first world countries like in the Netherlands, whereby they pay daycare fees instead of giving them money. They will pay for your child for you to go back to school. They don't give them money. But our government is continuing to make people to be dependent on them so that they can continue voting for them. You understand? So that they can keep them in this little corner to say, if you chuck us out, if you don't vote for NC, we don't know what's
No more
going
social
to happen.
grants.
You understand? Look at this 350 now. It's gone. And the United, the monetary, MIF is saying that they're no longer going to give them any money. So there's no longer going to be any bailout. We are actually getting more indebted. That 500 billion is going to be paid off by my grandchildren, because we are in trillions now owing money to the Monetary International Fund. For what? When we have gold, when we've got the Northern West, where we are mining platinum. Where is all this money going? Where are the duty frees? Are they not paying taxes for this thing that they are mining here? You ask yourself what in the hell this government is doing with all these resources, because we remain as the black child to suffer. it's the minimum wage is 3,500 rand. 74% unemployment at the moment that we're looking at. The government, all these leaders, they're busy taking each other to court. If it's not Zuma, now it's Syrian,
it's
yes, it's
Ramazule,
taking. So when will they actually take time to govern?
Is it then safe to say, Julius Malema made this term quite popular, you double agent. Is it safe to say that our leaders are double agents who are actually contributing to the West's agenda of suppressing the African? Is it safe to say that?
Do you want to go?
What I want to say is our leaders are not able. The whole political system in South Africa, I don't know in the rest of Africa, is not one that is designed to win. Number one, in parliament,
theirs.
they are segregated. Again, another example of segregation. We now identify as yellow, blue, red, and all the other colors of the political party. So the politics of that, it does not win. They are winning because they are taking care of themselves. Right now, my term is going to end. When my term ends, I need to have done this. And if you look at how political leaders need to win, they need to negotiate with these other countries, and they need to negotiate with leaders of other countries who are more powerful because they came and they took our resources in Africa, and they have more power. So they need to literally make themselves small and go say, hey, Canada, may I please have a vaccine for my people, whatever's left over, can I have it for my country, understand? So they are not starting from a strong point. And then secondly, on the political thing, I would love a South Africa where we don't have any political parties, but we have people saying, okay, I am Bulelwa Princess Monambi, these are my qualifications, this is my experience, these are my references, and I would like to run a country, and then we run it.
No,
like
actually there was a court case that was won, I'm not sure, most recently. You can run as an independent candidate.
Yes.
Even though there's...
No, but the whole country needs to agree. Instead, no parties. We do not want
Oh,
any
no parties
no
at all.
parties.
Because
Yes, we want a
yeah.
cabinet, a minister of finance who knows what finance is, who understands how to make sure that the South African rand is strong at all times. A minister of agriculture that understands who needs to be empowered, how it needs to be empowered, instead of they and us, this, them and this. No,
And
we're running a country. We all need to win. We need to leave legacies for our children.
Exactly.
So we're gonna fight and say they're not winning. The truth is they're not winning. Why they're not winning is a whole nother story that is going to be in court for another 7 years. You understand? In the meantime, who's being affected? You, me, our great children who'll still be paying for this. So again, as people, we need to say, government, we cannot do this. Let's change the system.
Okay. Ladies, we're just going to take a short break. Our first, we ran through that one. So let's just take a few minutes. We'll be back. Thank you so much to everyone for just tuning in. Please just join us after, I think it's 30 minutes, if I'm not wrong. We will be back. Thank you so much. The first session of the Simply Ora Show will be back. Thank you.
Awesome.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Simply Ora Show. Thank you so much for tuning in. We're continuing with our conversation. If you missed the first part of it, it was quite explosive, but we're getting into the second part, and we really do hope to initiate and engage and start conversations that will allow us as Africans to grow and just build and become better people. Going back to the second part, or the second part of the of our show. The question that I want to ask, what are the pillars to being African? What are the pillars to being African? What are those important elements of being an African? If I had to name one of them, which I know is Botho, Botho, Ubuntu, because this is what you see, as particularly when you go into the townships, when there's a funeral, when there's a wedding, there's a sense of a community coming together and assisting either the family or being there with the family when they mourn, when they celebrate. What are the other pillars of being African? Distorted as our image may be, are we even able to identify those pillars?
I think the main pillars for me, number one, as African, is family. Whether it's the family you are born in or a chosen family. Number two, communication, our language. Language is very important in the African family, in the African identity, and also hospitality. Ubuntu, what you named. Ubuntu, being hospitable. I think those are the top three for me.
And then Zanele?
The main pillar.
I struggle to find pillars in Africanism, because there's nothing that is building an African child on this day and age when we go back to Africanism. For me, a pillar is supposed to be a support system, supposed to be a support structure. It's something that when you stand on needs to support you. But you look at the African child is broken. The African child is suffering. So for me, I'm still trying, and I'm hoping and I'm praying that the kind of platform that you're giving us today will help us to find those pillars which we use to pride ourselves in as Africans. I believe that humanity and family, as she has mentioned them, are something that played a major role in creating Africanism, but it has also let us down, because when people come in, they come in as friends, they come in as people who want to help, they come in, whereas they are there and we're looking at the snake, whereas the scorpion is there about to bite. And while we're still focusing on the snake, it's busy killing us and devouring us slowly, surely. So they come in different forms and shapes, and you think that this is my family member, but because of the different classes, the different how can I put it, the generations that we're living in are making us to depart, to separate, because of, you find one member who is staying in Sentin, there's another member who's left back at home, there's another one who's not working. So there is no standardized form of living where we can all be happy and celebrate our family members, celebrate our union, celebrate that hospitality. If one goes to Moja Love TV now, if you can switch it on and see what types of programs are there, Uyapuza, Gugiti, it's all infighting. Hence I'm saying that I'm struggling at the moment to find that thing that would say this is what is creating a pillar that is keeping an African child standing and strong. Instead, they are distorting the images of what Africa stands for in their shows. There's a show, I don't know the name of the show, about Ubungoma, and you see all types of sordid images, what they do, what they have brought, this sacred traditional healing and the powers that come with that. They've brought it to something that is of no value in that show, and it hurts me actually to see such images being brought on TV and being shown, and it's just about Uyajola, 9 on every Sunday. It's
But can I
trending.
can I jump
It's-
in?
Be like
With that,
even-
like I was slightly touched by that, because I understand. Like I think that for every good there's a bad. You understand. So for that production company or that broadcaster, that's what they chose to look. But if you take away the TV, let's switch off the TV, right? In your surrounding places, they should be someone or something that symbolizes, because if you listen to my statement when I said family, I said there's a chosen family and there's a family that you are born in, right? So it could be your mom, your uncle, your aunt doing whatever they did, but there is that group of people or person where when you are with, you feel the sense of family. So yes, there's a lot of bad, there's ugly, but how the universe works and how the world works is for every good there's a bad, and there's different seasons. Right now we are going through a very tough season.
Let's
a
not
very
forget,
dire
this is about the
season.
pillars
Yes.
of African.
Yes.
Let's not forget that. Yes.
So that's what I'm saying is like for every good, because she was mentioning that she doesn't see any, or she doesn't feel that they are. If she doesn't see any that resemble what used to be pillars of Africa, I would like to know what were the pillars that are no longer available, basically. That's
Okay,
what I
then
want.
let's go. Can you maybe answer that? Are you able? Do you know what those pillars were?
I would say our spiritual guides, cosmetology. We were a people who knew exactly when it was going to rain. We had your Queen Mujaji. We had people who understood nature, who could tell when it was, but in this day and age, that is all, it's gone. We no longer have that.
I don't
those
even want to go
pillars.
into the wilderness. I don't want to lie to you. Like, don't ask me to go camping. Because I wouldn't listen.
Sunday. Let's go hiking. Let's do it.
Don't ask me to go camping because of the thought of me being in the wilderness is like, I think of snakes and stuff like that, meaning that I'm removed.
For me, it's actually easy to point out the pillars of Islam, which is fasting, which is prayer. Without easing, they know at a certain time they are up, they are praying to their gods, they understand who their gods are, they understand what their gods do. The month of Ramadan, they have to go to Mecca. There is no way. They've got 5 pillars and they stand by them. That is who they are. But when it comes to us as Africans, the few that I'm mentioning to you that we are not even practicing at the given time now, which made us to sour, because at that time we never needed anything. We never needed to dig for that gold to bother Mother Nature, because at that time we understood that Mother Nature was giving us everything. We used to pray to Mother Nature. We used to pray to the Sun God. We used to pray to Ra, which is when now they say the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. It was the Holy Trinity, which is Ura, is in Isitswana Kentate, and then there's the Son, which is the Mother, who is producing every morning. Uyazalwa, and she produces, and then there's the Holy Trinity. Then there's the child that gets born into. You understand? But everything was moved away from that. Hence, I'm saying, as Africans, we are a producing nation. Siyachala, siyavuna. But that is no longer happening, whereby we have to celebrate the time of ukuvuna. There were ceremonies which were performed at that time, whereby it's a celebration. We are saying thank you to our gods, because this year you have given us rain. We pour utwala, we brew utwala, we do all those things. Those were our pillars. That is what made us survive. That is what kept us healthy. But now we are being stuffed with GMO foods. We are being stuffed with all these.
We are not being stuffed. We are consuming. We are choosing to consume.
But now it's also our leaders who are allowing these.
You
people.
have a choice.
But now where
Do
can
we
you find?
really?
You do.
Do
Where
we
can you
really?
find?
Okay,
Do we
let's now go back to
do.
her, and I hope that we're not going off topic because we are discussing the whole one of the pillars of Africa, and like she said, now we are being stuffed with GMOs. If I am a person because now when you think about it, what we eat is found in the stores. What other alternative is there? Because you say that
There are
there's a
many.
choice.
So okay, everyone who knows me, family, friends, will tell me, I come to your house, I open your cupboards. I tell you, throw this out, get this, rid of this, get rid of this, because they're ingredients. So first, it comes with knowledge. Let's start there. And number two, let's start there. With as much that has happened, we were not broken. We are feeling broken, which means it's a good start because we are going into the right direction, but we are not starting from a negative. We are starting from a positive. We choose to consume what media feeds us. We choose to consume what is there. Right now, I know at least 4 people who are in agriculture, who are chicken farmers, crop farmers. They are doing this by nature. My mother is in Pietermaritzburg. She's literally plowing land as we speak to build for herself. So there are people. The fact that we are not doing it as a conglomerate does not mean that those pillars are gone and they are not being practiced. That number one, we choose to consume. You choose to say my Africanism was taken away from me, so I'm not gonna do that. But you find, like I told you first when we sat here, I called my clan names. This is Tagazelos. My father did not tell
Why
me
don't you
those.
beat those Tagazelos now? Beat those Tagazelos now.
No pressure, right? Ngumbuyazi ngungiba ngumabhodla ongathekeli emzini wabafelokazana lo wabhodla kuqala abanye abangakabhodli umageza ngobisi amanzi ekhona. I went out and I found this, right? My father, I didn't grow up with my father. He didn't raise me. We did not have that time where he could pass this on to me. And the family was also not very involved in my upbringing. But I had to go out and find out, okay, cool and fine, this situation is not working right now, but there were situations that happened before where I had ancestors for me to be here now. So let me go out and find them. And I found them. My totem, clan totem, is a zebra. As you look around, the zebras everywhere. I found my identity in that. This is where I came from. Why is it a zebra? Why does it stand for? I went out and I found it. I'm a chef, guys, by profession. I know ingredients. I believe consuming the purest thing ever. The biggest thing that we consume is hydrogenated fats. Hydrogenated fats you find in your margarine, you find in your chocolate, or what is called chocolate now, you find in candy, you find in something. It was a substance that was created by the Western culture through a famine.
Precious, I'm going to rail you in.
This is important. This is important.
Yeah.
So it
Does
was
it speak to the pillars?
It speaks to the pillars, but again to harvesting and the choice of what we eat,
we
right?
need to.
This is a substance that was made to feed the animals because there was no animal feed. The animals couldn't eat it because it was not, it's literally like a mixture of palm oil, vegetables, oils that's boiled to a point that it doesn't identify as anything. And then the animals couldn't, the cows didn't eat it, no one wanted it, even ants won't eat it or cockroaches. So they decided that, okay, we can flavor it. We can add vanilla, it can taste like a sweet. We can add brown coloring and chocolate flavoring, it can taste like chocolate. The butter that you eat, hydrogenated fats. In South Africa, it's actually named as fully hydrogenated fats. It does not process out of your system. It stays there. So heart attack, you find a 25-year-old having a heart attack, clogs the artery, does not process out of your system. It just stays there. It stays there, and it is in everything. Cream Ora, everything that you eat, there's hydrogenated fats.
There's so much into that. I think I would like
give you-
I would like to have a session with
Yes.
you on that one where we sit down and discuss that, because of you just gave me a little bit of a heart attack.
So go look for
love
it. Read the ingredients. Look for it. If you don't understand it, if it doesn't make sense to you, don't consume it. Read ingredients.
Going back to what you were speaking about, Zanele. In particular, you were referring to what were the pillars of Africa. Sitting here today in 2021, what would you, if we were having a brainstorming session as Africans and we were like, okay, guys, let's now bring up, what do you think our pillars should be? What would you throw in there as your thoughts? What do you think would you suggest as the pillars of Africa?
To survive as humanity, there are basics. There are 4. We need water, purified water. We need food. We need clothing. We need shelter. Just to survive. Those are the 4 things that you need. We are no longer in 1910 where we were harvesting or farming. You know, it's moved on. We are where we are today. For me, I would say it is how do we protect our ethnicity? How do we protect our DNA? How do we protect Africanism? Because as I said, a pillar is something that you're supposed to be able, it needs to support you. So we need to be able to have things that will help us to stay focused. Because when I go back to meditating, when I mentioned that Islam, they meditate, they do things in certain manner. So it goes back to schooling as well. I would say we need an Africanism school. We need, I come from an area where there are Indian kids. They go to their school where they learn Arabic during the day, in the mornings, and then after they go to a second school where they can learn English, accounting, and all those things. They get taught how to read the Quran in Arabic, so they are not losing that, you understand? But our schooling system has lost that. You find other languages like Isitswana, they're no longer being taught at other schools, and those kids are moved to other schools and stuff like that. But
Everything, including the leaders, we need to look upon ourselves and say, this is where we are winning, this is where we are not winning, this is where we are lacking, right? After we unlearn, we need some re-education. Go back to the cause, go back to the pillar. What does it actually mean to be African? And unfortunately, it's not going to look like anything we know and we understand right now. Once we have agreed with you, or it's going to take a lot for agreement, but once we understand what we need to do to go back into Africanism, then we need to adjust it to the modern life that we live in. Because like she said, I can't now start burning a fire in here and having a flame and doing that, but there are ways where we can bring that African culture within it. And then within that discussion, that conversation, leaders, true leaders, a true leader is not born, is not made, is not elected. Most of true leaders don't even want to be leaders. You understand? But because of their understanding and their operating and their maneuvering to make sure that we can take this mobile and take it where it needs to go, they will rise up. They will be the revelations, for lack of another words, that okay, that is the leader that will take us and take us to where we need to be going. I think that's where it needs to start. Decrease, unlearn, then restructure.
So now, here I am as Oradilwe, I'm watching this particular program. What is it that I can do? Where do I start? You understand? Because we are throwing out the solutions. We've had so many solutions come up through this conversation. Where do I start? How do I get the ball rolling?
Oh, that's a tough one. It's tough because I will say I'm lucky. Number one, I don't think anyone here is an expert, but I think we are all here as learning and sharing what we have learned, right? And we are very lucky because we understand the notion of Africanism. We understand what we want to know of Africa, but there's a generation out here who has no inkling or idea of what we are talking about, and probably to them it sounds like we want to take things back to the dark ages. So to that, Uradila, I would say go back. Switch off the TV, like do some research on comets, do some research on the African diet, do research on Dr. Sebi, do some African research. I've got 2 books here actually. Can I actually show
please,
them? Oh, you close
yes,
there's 2 books just in here. I've got a lot, but I think these are one of my favorite. Number 1 is Cry Freedom by Steve Biko. It's a very interesting one. And the second one is Omendingo, the only black at the table, which I think is very relevant to the modern day Africa and idea of Africanism. That's a good read, both of it. So start reading. Let's read. Let's educate ourselves. Let's communicate and speak about that. And then once you understand what is Africanism, then again, identity, it is you. It needs to come from you that I want to engage within this or not, because again, we can't force people because you have the skin tone or you have melanin in your skin. This is how we need to move. This is how you need to dress. Everyone needs to make an educated choice of where they want to be. And again, the community that fully understands where we need to go will mobilize where we need to go. but we need to, I think, with a lot of these talk, we sometimes forget that we live in a globe, we live in the world, we live in a community. It is not only black people, it's not only white people, it's not only Chinese people, but at some point there needs to be collaboration. So once we understand and address ourselves as African, we need to address ourselves as a globe, because I think what's happened in most places is there was a band-aid put on a gunshot wound. Nothing was actually digressed or addressed or, emancipated and saying this is what's happened. So after Africa deals with itself, we need to deal with the world. This is what's happened. This is why it's wrong. This is how we are gonna remedy it, and then we need to build a better globe going forward. It is not only about Africa. Africa is the biggest and the richest. That's why we were or are under attack, but we need to wake up.
Okay. Ladies, that was the last question, as I said. Before I even do the closing remarks, is there anything that maybe you would like to say before we end it?
From my end, I would like to thank you guys for meeting up with me for this opportunity, and the technical team as well, because I feel that this is very important for our children as well, for the future, so that we can leave a fingerprint to say that this has always been known. We've always known that this is there. So I'm looking forward to sessions where we can put Africanism up there, and to let people know that we are there, we do exist, and we can put in so many things and so many thoughts into making a world a better place.
Thank you, Zanele. Bulelwa?
Awesome. What I want to say is reading is fundamental to the people out there. Please read. Read whatever you can find. Read. Number two, there's a lot of people who feel that because they are black or they're African, they can't do a lot. There's people who've done what you want to do. The blueprint is out there. All you need to do is go find it. There's a book, there's internet, there's Ora, there's Zanele, there's Princess who are doing something similar to what you want to be. So find those people, study those people, copy those people, and lastly, zithande. Love yourself, respect yourself, understand yourself before you want to be understood by the world. And I think if you start there, I think we will be a better people for it. And thank you for inviting me to the show. I'm gonna give my socials because I'm that girl.
Give your socials, girl.
On social media, I am Bulelwa Mbonambi, both on Facebook and both on Instagram. And then for all the chefs out there or people who need a chef or hospitality consultant, you can email me at bulelwambonambi@gmail.com, or you can slide into my DMs. Let's do business. Let's build this world, and let's create a better Africa. Back to Ora.
I would like to I apologize. I would like to thank the ladies, Zanele and Bulelwa. I would like to thank Azania Unlimited, Kagiso Manama, and I would also like to thank T1 Media for the technical support, which was on point. Thank you so much for taking time to tune into the Simply Ora Show. This is the beginning. This was the first episode, and I think it went so beautifully. So thank you so much. Let us get this conversation. Like we said, the effort in doing all of this is to build. It is to grow, join the conversations. What I'm doing as Ora is trying to get that conversation going. Out there, we've got somebody who's got the knowledge. We've got somebody out there who's got the skills. And what we are then saying is that let's gather, let's raise Africa. My name is Ora Dilwe. It was absolutely beautiful chilling with you and with you ladies. Thank you so much.